Mark Manson's book opens with an unusual example. Charles Bukowski, a chronic alcoholic and failed writer for most of his life, who kept writing anyway, not because he was chasing motivation or positivity, but because he simply didn't care about failing anymore. Eventually, that persistence turned him into one of the best-selling poets of his generation. Manson uses this story to introduce the book's central, counterintuitive idea. The key to a good life isn't caring about more things or forcing yourself to feel positive all the time. It's getting deliberately selective about what you actually care about and letting go of the rest. This isn't a book about apathy. It's about intentionally choosing your struggles instead of accidentally inheriting them. Let's break down the core ideas. Idea number 1. Not caring doesn't mean indifference. Manson is careful to clarify what the title actually means because it's easy to misread. He's not arguing for total indifference to everything in life. He's arguing that everyone has a limited amount of attention and emotional energy, and most people waste it caring deeply about things that don't actually matter to their long-term well-being, other people's opinions, minor inconveniences, or the pursuit of constant positivity. His point is that the people who live the most fulfilling lives aren't the ones who care about nothing. They're the ones who've gotten ruthlessly selective, caring intensely about a small number of things that genuinely align with their values and refusing to waste energy on everything else. Idea number 2, the feedback loop from hell. Manson describes a common trap he calls the feedback loop from hell. This happens when you feel a negative emotion, then judge yourself harshly for feeling it, which creates a second negative emotion on top of the first, which you then also judge, and the cycle spirals. For example, feeling anxious, then feeling ashamed of being anxious, then feeling anxious about that shame. Manson argues that chasing constant positivity actually makes this worse because it teaches you to treat any negative emotion as a personal failure rather than a normal part of being human. Breaking the loop starts with accepting that negative emotions are simply part of a functional life, not evidence that something is wrong with you. Idea number 3, happiness comes from solving problems. Manson challenges the popular idea that happiness is a permanent destination you eventually reach. Instead, he argues that life is an endless series of problems, and true satisfaction doesn't come from eliminating problems entirely. It comes from having good problems, ones connected to something you genuinely value, and enjoying the process of solving them. This reframes the goal of self-improvement. Instead of trying to build a problem-free life, which Manson argues is impossible, the real question becomes, which problems do you want to spend your life solving? He calls this choosing your struggle, and argues that the specific struggle you choose says more about your values than any goal you claim to want. Idea number 4, you are not special. This chapter directly challenges the self-esteem-focused culture Manson believes has produced widespread entitlement and unnecessary suffering. He argues that constantly being told you're exceptional without earning that belief through real struggle and accomplishment sets people up for a painful collision with reality. He distinguishes between two forms of entitlement, believing you're inherently better than everyone else, or believing you're inherently worse or more damaged than everyone else. Both, Manson argues, keep a person overly focused on themselves rather than engaging honestly with the world. His alternative isn't self-hatred, it's ordinary, grounded self-acceptance, recognizing that struggle and imperfection are part of being human, not evidence that you're uniquely broken or uniquely destined for greatness. Idea number 5, the value of suffering. Manson argues that pain and struggle aren't things to be avoided at all costs. They're part of how people find meaning and grow. He points out that avoiding all discomfort tends to produce shallow, unstable satisfaction, while working through meaningful struggle tends to produce a deeper, more resilient sense of purpose. This connects back to the idea of choosing your struggle. Since suffering in some form is unavoidable, the real decision isn't whether you'll struggle, but what you'll struggle for. Struggling to build a business you believe in or to repair a relationship that matters to you produces a very different kind of life than struggling with anxiety over things you have no real investment in. Idea number 8, you are always choosing. Even when it feels like circumstances are completely out of your control, Manson argues that you're always choosing how you interpret and respond to what happens to you. He acknowledges this can feel uncomfortable, even unfair, particularly for people who've experienced real hardship they didn't choose. But he draws a clear distinction between fault and responsibility.
You may not be at fault for what happened to you, but you're still responsible for how you respond to it moving forward. Avoiding this responsibility by blaming circumstances indefinitely quietly keeps people stuck, even when the original event genuinely wasn't their fault. Idea number 7. You might be wrong about everything. Manson encourages a kind of intellectual humility he considers essential to growth, holding your own beliefs and values loosely enough to question them, rather than treating them as permanent certainties. He suggests regularly asking yourself uncomfortable questions. What if I'm wrong about this? What if the thing I'm avoiding is actually the thing I need to face? This willingness to sit with uncertainty, rather than clinging to comfortable but potentially flawed beliefs, is what allows genuine personal growth to happen. Idea number 8. Failure is the way forward. Manson pushes back against a common fear of failure, arguing instead that failure is simply the necessary process through which people improve at anything worthwhile. He introduces the idea of the do-something principle, that action, even imperfect or unsuccessful, generates the motivation and clarity that waiting around for inspiration never does. Rather than waiting to feel ready or confident before acting, you should act first, accept that early attempts will likely fail or fall short, and let that failure itself become the feedback that shapes better future action. Idea number 9. The importance of saying no. Manson closes with the idea that meaningful commitment requires rejection. You can't build a deep relationship, a focused career, or a set of clear personal values without simultaneously saying no to countless other options, opportunities, and people. He argues that people who try to avoid ever disappointing anyone, or who keep every option permanently open, end up with a diluted, shallow life, spread too thin across too many half-commitments. Real freedom, paradoxically, comes from committing fully to a smaller number of things that genuinely matter to you, and being willing to disappoint everything else. Manson's core message throughout the book isn't about becoming careless or apathetic, it's about becoming deliberate. Life will always include problems, failure, and discomfort, no matter how much effort you put into avoiding them. The real question isn't how to eliminate struggle, but which struggles are actually worth your limited time, energy, and care. Choosing your problems, taking responsibility for your responses, and having the courage to say no to everything that doesn't align with your values, that, according to Manson, is what a genuinely good life is built on. If this summary was helpful, let me know in the comments which idea stood out to you the most. And if you enjoyed deep dive book breakdowns like this, make sure to subscribe.